Have you ever felt this way before? Someone hurt you and maybe with a careless comment, a betrayal, or simply by being silent at the exact moment you needed them most. And even though time has passed, the wound is still there. It doesn't bleed anymore, but it aches every time you touch it. It aches when you remember it. It aches whenever you accidentally cross paths with that person, in real life or in your own memory. I've worked with so many people here in the US, and strangely enough, no matter their age, job, or background, they all share one thing. They carry something in their hearts that has never been forgiven. One day, a woman named Marissa told me during a coaching session, "I know I should forgive, but every time I think about it, I feel like I'm losing." Her words hit me deeply because they reflect exactly what so many of us struggle with. And maybe right at this moment, you are living inside the same tug of war. Should I forgive or keep holding on to the resentment? I want you to know something. This question isn't simple at all. It touches the deepest corners of the human heart, our pride, our wounds, our longing for fairness. But here's the interesting part. Over 2,000 years ago, the Stoic philosophers wrestled with this very same question. They didn't live in our chaotic era of social media, buzzing notifications and sleepless nights over unread messages, but they understood the feeling of being hurt, betrayed, disappointed. And they offered a completely different perspective, one that might make you rethink everything. I want you to imagine this. You're standing in the middle of a long road, and ahead of you are two paths. One is the path of resentment, where every step is heavy, not because the path is hard, but because you're carrying a stone in your chest. The other is the path of forgiveness, not instantly light, not instantly painless, but it's the road where you get to finally set that stone down. And now you're standing between the two, hesitating, asking yourself, which direction is right for me? As someone who has walked with many people through their healing journeys, I've realized one thing. Resentment doesn't make us stronger, it only makes us tired. A friend of mine once said something unforgettable. Holding on to anger is like drinking poison and waiting for the other person to suffer. And you know what? The Stoics said almost the exact same thing. Epictetus wrote, "No one can hurt you unless you allow them to live in your mind for too long." That's not easy to accept at first, but it reveals a powerful truth. Resentment is one of the few sufferings we actually have the power to let go of. I once met a father who had held a grudge against his brother for 12 years over an argument from long ago. When I asked him, "Do you want to forgive him?" he said no, because I was right. But then he paused and added softly, "But I'm tired." And in that moment, I knew he no longer needed to prove he was right, he just wanted to be free. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "People do wrong because they don't know what they're doing. It doesn't excuse their actions, but it explains why they don't deserve your peace of mind." In this video, I'm not telling you that you must forgive, and I'm not telling you that resentment is always wrong. I simply want to invite you to look deeper, through the lens of Stoic philosophy. Forgiveness versus resentment is ultimately a question of personal freedom. Not morality, not politeness, not obligation. It is about choosing how you want to live from this moment forward. So before we move into the main content, I want you to sit with one question. Which choice will make my heart feel lighter 5 years from now, holding on to resentment or letting it go? Hold that question close. And now, let's begin. 1. Resentment doesn't punish them. It punishes you. Let me start this section with a truth most people don't want to face. Resentment doesn't hurt the other person. It only exhausts you. I once worked with a man named Richard, a good, kind-hearted person who had carried resentment toward his father for almost 15 years. During one coaching session, he said, "I want him to know he was wrong. I want him to feel what I felt." I stayed quiet for a moment, then asked him, "How many nights do you think he's lost sleep over this?" Richard looked at me, eyes turning red, and whispered, "Probably none." And there it is. We often think that holding on to resentment is a way of holding power, but in reality, it's like chaining yourself to a locked door long after the other person has already walked away. Epictetus, the philosopher of inner freedom, said something brutally honest. You suffer because you keep the image of the person who hurt you in your mind for too long. Resentment isn't justice, it's the rope that keeps you tied to your own pain, and every day you think about it, that rope tightens a little more. I'm not saying this to make you feel guilty, I'm saying it so you can see your own power. You can stop being tied down anytime you choose. Think of a backpack you've been carrying for years. Inside are stones, each one a story of betrayal, disrespect, or hurt. You didn't choose to carry it, but you've had it on your back for so long, you no longer remember how heavy it is. The Stoics never said you must dump the entire backpack at once. They simply ask, sir, do you want to keep carrying it for the rest of your life? That is the first question we all must face. 2. Forgiveness in Stoicism isn't about forgiving them. It's about freeing yourself. Whenever I talk about forgiveness, many people react almost instantly. I can't let them win. Forgiving is weakness. Forgiving means I accept what they did. And I usually smile gently and say, no, forgiveness in Stoicism has nothing to do with them. It has everything to do with you. Stoicism approaches forgiveness from a very practical, grounded place. It's not about erasing someone's wrongdoing. It's not about wiping away the painful memories. Forgiveness is simply putting down the burden you no longer want to carry. Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations, if they did wrong, it's because they didn't know how to do right, and I will not allow their ignorance to ruin my peace of mind. I remember a woman named Helena who had been betrayed in her marriage. She told me, I will never forgive him, never. I didn't push her, I just asked, and what has that brought you so far? She fell silent. So silent I could hear her breathing, then she whispered, it only brings pain. That was the moment she realized, for the first time, that forgiveness wasn't a gift for him. It was a gift she could give herself. I want you to imagine this. You're holding a burning coal in your hand, hoping the person who hurt you will somehow feel the burn. But the only person feeling the pain is you. Forgiveness is simply opening your hand and letting the coal fall. It's not poetic, it's not glamorous, but it's freedom. 3. Knowing what you control and what you don't, and the key to letting go. This is the core principle of Stoic philosophy. And when applied to forgiveness, it becomes incredibly powerful. You can't control what someone else did. You can't control their words, their choices, or the past they created. But you can control how you interpret the story, how you respond, and whether you hold peace or hold resentment. Let me share a story from my time as a community mental health counselor. There was a young man named Daniel whose best friend betrayed him in a startup project. He lost money, lost a friendship, and lost trust in people. For 8 months, he kept saying, I just want him to apologize. But the apology never came. One day, exhausted, Daniel said, I can't live like this anymore. And that's exactly where Stoicism shows up, because you can't control whether someone apologizes, but you can control whether you keep waiting for it. I told him, forgiveness isn't I accept what you did. Forgiveness is I no longer wait for you to fix my pain. Daniel sat silently for a long time, then he said, so I can be free, even without the apology. I nodded, and right there in that single sentence, he dropped half the weight he'd been carrying. You see, something as simple as recognizing what is mine and what is not mine can transform an entire life. 4. Resentment is a heavy weight. Forgiveness is a gift you give yourself. Seneca once wrote, no one can be happy while being ruled by negative emotions. Resentment is one of those emotions that destroys slowly but deeply. It drains your mental energy. It steals joy from moments that should feel light. It takes your sleep, your trust, and sometimes even your sense of who you are. I once had a student named Vanessa who had carried resentment toward her mother for nearly 20 years. Her mother never said, "I love you," never hugged her, always criticized, always cold. Vanessa told me, "I became someone I never wanted to be because of her. I will never forgive." I listened to her through many sessions, but one day she said something I can never forget. "I'm tired. I'm tired to the point where I don't want to be angry anymore." That right there is the heart of forgiveness, not moral superiority, not kindness, just exhaustion. Just a realization that anger has taken too much already. Forgiveness is unlocking the chains from your own heart. Forgiveness is stepping out of the cage, even if the person who put you there never changes. Forgiveness is returning energy to yourself, not to them, I told Vanessa. Letting go doesn't erase the past, but it makes the future lighter. And somehow she understood. Not fully, not perfectly, but enough for her heart to begin healing. 5. Forgiveness isn't weakness. It's the strength of a fully grown person. There's a misconception many people carry. They believe forgiveness is soft, that it's backing down, that it's admitting defeat, that it lets the other person win. But the truth, in my experience, after working with hundreds of students, clients, and patients, the people who forgive are the strongest ones in the room. I once worked with a former soldier named Jacob. He had lived through tremendous loss, betrayal, and pain from the people closest to him. He carried anger like armor. He told me, "Sir, if I forgive, I'm afraid I'll be weak." I looked him straight in the eyes and asked, "And holding on to anger, has that made you stronger?" He was silent. A long, heavy silence. Then he said quietly, "It's only made me not myself anymore." Do you see? Resentment hardens us, forgiveness softens us, but that softness is what lets us move forward. The Stoics believed deeply that true strength comes from ruling yourself, not ruling others. Forgiveness doesn't remove your boundaries. It doesn't erase what happened. It doesn't force you to return to old relationships. Forgiveness simply prevents your past from becoming your future. Only the brave can walk that path. I once told Jacob, "Strength isn't holding the pain. Strength is knowing you can put it down." And you know what happened? He didn't forgive immediately. No one does. But the day he decided not to let anger define him anymore, that day he looked stronger than I had ever seen him. 6. Forgiveness doesn't erase memories. It only changes the way you carry them. One of the biggest reasons people hesitate to forgive is because they think forgiveness means forgetting. Forgetting the pain, forgetting the story, pretending it never happened. But Stoicism never asks for that. Stoicism is practical. It understands that human beings have memories, wounds, and histories that don't just vanish because we want them to. Forgiveness doesn't erase. Forgiveness simply reorganizes. I remember a former client of mine named Elena. She grew up with a mother who was harsh, cold, and strict. No hugs, no affirmations, only pressure and control. When she became an adult, she carried that pain everywhere she went. A quiet but persistent ache, like a back pain you forget about only because you've lived with it for too long. She once told me, "I can't forgive her because I can't forget." And I said, "No one is asking you to forget. Forgiveness isn't deleting the memory. Forgiveness is changing where the memory sits inside your heart. Instead of letting it sit on your chest, pressing on you every single day, you place it beside you. It's still there, but it no longer suffocates you." Elena stayed silent for a long time. Then she said something I'll never forget. "I want that memory behind me, not in front of me." Do you see? Forgiveness doesn't make the past disappear. It just helps you look at the past with softer eyes, not denying it, not pretending it didn't happen, but understanding, yes, it happened, but it no longer defines who I am. That's a kind of strength resentment can never give you. 7. Forgiveness in Stoicism is an act of choosing freedom, not compromise among all the lessons Stoic philosophy has taught me. There's one truth I carry with me everywhere. Every emotion we hold on to is a choice, and forgiveness is the freest choice a human being can make. I want you to imagine yourself standing on a quiet beach. You're holding a stone tightly in your hand. You can keep gripping it forever, or you can simply open your hand and let it fall. What's interesting is, the stone will never fall on its own. It will never detach itself from your hand. You are holding it, you and only you. Forgiveness in the Stoic sense is the act of opening your hand, not to benefit the other person, not to be noble, not because they deserve your forgiveness, but because you deserve the relief. I once worked with a mother named Olivia. Her ex-husband had betrayed her. She carried that pain for 6 long years after their divorce. She told me, "I don't understand why, even though I hate him, he still shows up in my mind every day." And I said gently, "It's not that he shows up, it's that you're still carrying him with you." She burst into tears, not because my words hurt her, but because she recognized the truth in them. Olivia didn't forgive him right then and there. But the next day, she came back and said, "Last night was the first night I slept without thinking about the past." And I knew that was the first step toward letting go. Forgiveness in Stoicism isn't a declaration, it's not a ceremony, it's not a dramatic moment, it's a series of small decisions made quietly again and again. I choose peace over resentment. I choose freedom over burden. I choose my future over my past. No one can force you to forgive, but if you choose it, you choose a life that breathes easier. Now that we've walked through all 7 parts of this journey together, I want you to take a moment of true silence for yourself. Take a deep breath in and let it out slowly, because everything we talked about today, resentment, hurt, forgiveness, letting go, they're not just philosophical ideas, they are real, painfully real. They're things you felt in your own heart, things that kept you up at night, things that made your chest heavy, things that made you shut down, even with people you love. Forgiveness or resentment is not about choosing what's right or wrong. It's about choosing how you want to live the rest of your life. Resentment makes you feel like you're holding power, but in reality, it steals your energy, your peace, and the light in your eyes. Forgiveness may feel like giving up a piece of your pride, but in truth, it restores the freedom you lost long ago. If you ask the Stoics, what should I do? They wouldn't give you a direct answer. They'd simply ask, what kind of person do you want to become? And the beautiful part is that answer already lives inside you. I once had a student tell me, "Listen, I don't forgive because they deserve it. I forgive because I want to sleep peacefully at night." Such a simple sentence, but full of maturity and courage. Forgiveness doesn't take anything away from you. Forgiveness returns the things you've lost, your calm, your clarity, your self-control, and the space in your heart to love again. You don't have to forgive today. You just need to open a small door so your heart can breathe, so peace has somewhere to enter. If this message touched you, a few small things you can do. If something in this video resonated with you, if even one sentence made you rethink the way you've been carrying pain, I'd love to invite you to do 3 simple things that help Stoic awakening. More reach more people in need. Hit like so YouTube knows this is content worth sharing. Subscribe. So we can walk together each week through the path of inner strength, healing, and Stoic growth. And turn on the notification bell. so you never miss a video that could help you become a steadier, calmer version of yourself. And I truly want to hear from you. Share in the comments below. Which of the 7 parts do you feel you need to practice the most right now? Your story might be the healing someone else desperately needs. Thank you for spending this time with me, and more importantly, with your own heart. May your next steps be filled with clarity, calm, and a mind no longer chained to the past. I'll see you in the next video on Stoic Awakening more. And as always, live honestly, live mindfully, and live like a modern Stoic.